Alright, so I kind of want to go over how I use Fedora on a daily basis. I've been using Linux for quite some time, and I have long since completely and entirely switched over to using Linux without Windows for quite some time. I have Windows installed on some VMs, but they have had like zero use. Well, that's not what I want to discuss with you here today. I want to discuss like one of the major kind of drawbacks to using Linux that I've run into. When you want to run an application on Linux, it's not as simple as on like Windows as it is on Linux. You just download an application and run it. Like on Windows, it's like if I want to run an application, I download it, I run it. Mac OS, I download the application and I check some security setting and I run it for the most part. And you don't really run into those. You don't really run into those kind of issues. This is one of those parts of Linux that I really wish would kind of go away, where I have to drop to terminal to do this. I know I'm going to have to drop to terminal to do this. So let's open the console and let's open ChatGPT. We have DaVinci Resolve downloaded and extracted from the zip file. So let's go ahead and ask ChatGPT how the hell to do this. How do I install DaVinci 44? And this is basically what I have been trying, like, what I've been facing on Linux for quite some time is just this. Whenever I run into a problem, I ask ChatGPT, and I've had this fail one time for me. We'll get into that in a little bit. Right now, I have another computer where I'm building a system specifically for AI, but I have to use a very old version of Fedora. I have to use Fedora 38, which I have that running, and I have it building the system. And then once I'm done, I'll be able to create a container and bring that into Fedora 44 and run it like that. But it's a nightmare. So let's get into this. So let's just NVIDIA -SMMI. Okay, so I'm obviously using NVIDIA. So in order to use DaVinci Resolve, you want to be using an NVIDIA graphics card. You can use it on AMD, but there are issues from what I've heard in Linux. So anybody that's using Linux that's editing videos is going to be using NVIDIA. I was using the open source NVIDIA drivers for a little bit. They're very unstable, but they work really well now. 3D acceleration. It doesn't have HDR. This does have HDR, but it's not auto HDR. But it's nice. HDR is working. So let's, all right, we need our password. And so far, I've really liked Fedora. Fedora has been really, really, really good for, so I've already done that. Make the, okay, so we want to make this executable right here. It's already executable. All right, so cd/de to the desktop. So Fedora isn't officially supported, so bypass the package check. So we can copy that, paste that. So this should work. I don't need a detailed log. Yeah, so I mean, getting things to work on Linux has been, for the most part, really easy. But I need my handheld with ChatGPT in order to do that. Which, that's really good for ChatGPT, but that's not good for like the common user for the most part. The common man isn't going to want to be asking ChatGPT how to do every little thing on his own. He's going to want to be able to just click it and have it be available and have it be useful, because like when you first download Linux, it just kind of works, right? Like from the ground up to the desktop, you get this very, very, very smooth experience, as if like this is going to work, everything's great, everything's fantastic, and then you get to the desktop and then you start trying to do some basic ass shit, only to find out that you need to learn how to use the terminal and get comfortable with the terminal and learn how to rely on ChatGPT for everything that you're doing. And it's a mess. It's still a mess, but it's at least to a manageable mess now, where ChatGPT has enabled a lot of people to get up and running with Linux. The reason I'm using ChatGPT instead of Gemini is Gemini gets a lot wrong. For instance, when I went to install the NVIDIA drivers, it still gives me an incorrect value on that. And so we're going to show that live. So www Google how to install NVIDIA drivers on Fedora. So it comes in here, it asks you go into the mirrors. You don't have to do this, by the way, to enable RPM Fusion, but you can do that. Oh yeah, that installs the mirrors. Go to update Y, right? I think right here is right, like the very first one right here. So sudo, if you come here, this right here is an invalid argument. Right here, this is an invalid argument. So if we come over here, how NVIDIA. So if you come over here, this right here is the correct command for that. I don't understand why this command still uses this right here. It's very strange, and it does it right here as well. These are incorrect arguments. This is the proper argument for this. Getting, and then you update your system, and then you use AK mod, and then you build this, and then you don't reboot right away. You wait for AK mod to, I don't know why, maybe they changed it in the last few days, I don't know. There have been updates, and I'm on the latest version of that. And one thing I do like about Fedora is it's always up to the latest version of everything. I changed back to this default theme. We're not going to go over the theme that I'm using because it is just a picture of my kids, and I'm not going to be blasting my kids' picture to my social media accounts. But it looks like this has finished, and it put an icon here on my desktop. So we're going to go ahead and just delete these files, move these to the trash. We no longer need the installation files. So at least that, as far as that is concerned, that we got this far to working. So we double clicked on it. Okay, so there's a problem. That's fine. So let's go back into ChatGPT. How to install DaVinci Resolve in Fedora. Okay, so let's just do this. Okay, DaVinci Resolve is what I want. Oh, there's going to be a binary conflict. Okay, that's fine. I forgot. I accidentally skipped a step. And this is one of those things, like, it's so easy to skip a step on things. You just get, you get so ahead of yourself that things just kind of, what the flippity flops. Let's just see if that worked. There it goes. It's working now. Yeah, like little things like that on Linux. Like, why couldn't it just work out of the box? But that could just be like the DaVinci Resolve's like programming team. I'm using it on an quote unquote unsupported operating system. It's only supported on Rocky. They do allow you to download it and run it on Linux, but it is as unsupported as running like a game within Proton. Which I have yet to find a game that I play that I enjoy that doesn't run within Proton. I use Proton GE via Proton Up, and I have not had any problems with getting any games to run. So all of my emulator games run. I was trying to play this. I had some errors with this. This was just like a free game. I don't know how to get this to work. This could just be some old thing. I have no idea. But everything works via Steam. All of the emulators that I would normally play, Dolphin, CMU, DOS Browser, Flycast for Dreamcast, like Kega Fusion for Genesis and 32X. PlayStation 2 works perfectly. PPSS PP works perfectly. PS3 works as well as it does on Windows. SNES 9X works as well as it does on anything else. I have access to all of my games library. So all of the games that I've backed up over the years of the games that I own, I can now access perfectly right within Linux. So like if you're a gamer and like you play like older games, like Linux is where it's at, man. I rather enjoy using Linux, and it comes with this nifty little DOS browser. I don't know the legalities of this DOS browser, so use this understanding you might be breaking the law. Let's just, because there are like Quake 3 Arena, and then this right here, I couldn't get this to work because it wants me to torrent things. Hold on a second. Okay, so yeah, it wants me to download some stuff, and I'm kind of scared because it's mentioning torrent files. So I don't know. Maybe, so use this at your own risk. There's definitely some legalities to it. There was like a takedown for this, and who knows? But it's nifty. It's a nifty thing to try. I was able to play one of my favorite games, Warcraft 2. I believe Warcraft 3 might be on here as well. But it was nice. I rather enjoyed myself playing Warcraft 2. I beat the Horde, and I rather enjoyed myself. So yeah. So like it's an easy way to this is one of the weird things on Linux. All right, let's get out of this. So it is working perfectly. So yeah, so there's a lot of positive things about Linux. The one thing that I have found that has really, really blocked a lot of how I make my money is there is no way of running something in real time. I don't have this set up on my main computer so I can open this. I don't have access to my accounts without signing in with this. But I cannot find out how to run TradingView in real time. You want to run your trading platform in real time to run the bot properly for when you're doing day trading. You need that speed. You need that real-time speed. And I know that it works on Windows, and I know that it works on Mac. You set it to run as real time. And doing some research, I found that there is no proper way on Linux to run programs real time because Linux does not contain the capabilities of being a real-time operating system, and I did not know that. And so I have run into a very niche use case, but it is a major use case across the board, which is a program that I would run in real time, not be able to run in real time so that its servers sync with my time server via NTP. Now, it does work, but it doesn't give me client-side speed. I don't have access to it via client-side, via speed. And so the bot itself only works in half duplex mode. And I can't calculate the deltas properly doing that. So I can only say that my alpha is plus 1% on my options or what have you. So there's a problem with this in that I need to be able to figure out my delta for backtracing, and I can't do that unless it's running in real time. Now I can outsource that. I can take all of the data that I have, upload it to a website that'll give me that information, but the fact of the matter remains, I am not releasing my financial information to some institution out there that I don't have control over. Whereas on Windows, I at least was able to kind of localize that. So that is a major, major, major problem. I need to be able to run programs in real time. Yes, I'm aware there is a terminal command that kind of sort of gives me that, but it's still very incomplete. I know that BSD can run programs in real time. I can't speak to the validity of if TradingView works on BSD. I can't speak to the validity of whether or not it's going to work using BSD. It's something I can explore inside of a virtual machine, and if it does, I can try to get that to work on a desktop computer, and I can make a video on that. But as it stands right now, a major part of my workflow now needs to be outsourced. Now, I was able to get into contact with a brokerage firm, which is local to me, where I'm able to take the files and upload them to an FTP server on their end, and I'm able to pay them a small fee, which is not it's insignificant, but it works, and everybody gets paid, and everybody's happy, and it has like lessened my workflow. I'm just saying it would have been nice to have this kind of control over my data. At least have that option available for me. So that is unfortunate. Another unfortunate side effect of using Linux is I don't get programs like Photoshop or like Adobe's like video editor, and I'm stuck using DaVinci Resolve. Now, DaVinci Resolve is not a bad video editor, but it does mean that I have to alter my workflow a little bit here, which again, that's no big deal. I'm altering my workflow. I'm getting used to the Linux way of doing things, and I'm giving the old college try here. I've been using Linux primarily and only since January, and to prove to you that I literally don't have any hours here, VMWARE. I have like Fedora. This is I was trying to use GNOME because I wanted to check out what GNOME was like, and for some reason I was having some major issues on hardware. So I thought maybe it was my hardware. I thought maybe because of some incompatibilities with NVIDIA. So I switched over to KDE Plasma. KDE Plasma has been completely problem-free. I then installed GNOME 50 version of Fedora Workstation inside of a VM and ran into the same issues. So right now, I don't know. I haven't checked for updates in a few days on this. It seems broken, but this right here, I believe, is just... Yeah, I think this is one that I got from Microsoft. I was just checking a few things out here. I was looking into LTSC because I might still have to go back to Windows. And I was looking into their licensing and stuff like that. So I was testing this out here to check out to see whether or not I liked this. And this is fine. This isn't terrible. So like if I were to like download TradingView here, this is what everybody just uses for day trading. Continue, whatever. I don't want to sign in. Just give me the damn program. If you like this kind of like long form video, let me know. Yeah, this is what I want right here. Jeez. So if you look here, it says Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. So it does work on Linux, and it works really well. It's just I can't get the real time. Windows can't open this type of file on this PC. What? Okay. Let's just... Yeah. War info. Run anyway. Could not be. Okay. I can't run MSIX. So, okay, so that's definitely something that... not executable on Windows 10. Okay. So these are things that I was definitely testing, and it's something that I was just testing live, and apparently it's not something that I can do, at least readily available. So switching to Linux seems to be like the way to go. It's just this one kind of major upset in my life now. I'm now losing access to this. Like I can't just backtrace in real time on my computer, and I have to rely on the word of this institution for my finances now. And I like to be able to run it locally. And I can still kind of run it locally. It's just I don't get the real-time... I don't get the real-time information. And that's kind of a major problem for me. So yeah, if somebody out there is aware of maybe a fix or what have you to get Linux to run a program in real time, that'd be great. Maybe there's a way around doing it. As far as my research has been... It's been pretty conclusive that Linux is not a real-time operating system, and it doesn't even have the ability to run anything in real time. So even if I were to load like a kernel extension on Mac, they're known as KEXs. I think on Linux, I don't know what they're called, but they're kernel extensions. Even if you were to load a kernel extension for like running things in real time on an Intel CPU, which is one of the reasons a lot of us do still use Intel CPUs in 2026, is the fact that we do run things in real time, and AMD's timings on their CPUs have been less than stellar, and even on the latest Ryzen gaming CPUs, running things in real time is a major issue. And so one of the reasons you will see people using Windows, especially within day trading, is that ability to run things in real time. So yeah, that is an unfortunate thing that I can't do on Linux. I rather like using Linux. I have rather enjoyed using it. I have not really had any major drawback issues. If you are just a gamer, use Linux, man. If you're just like a desktop user and you just want to like kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy using a computer, man, Fedora 44 with KDE Plasma is a very enjoyable experience. If you can put up with opening the terminal and copying and pasting a few commands from ChatGPT, you're going to have a really, really good time. I have had nothing but smooth sailing on this operating system. Any issues that other people seem to have don't seem to exist on my end with Fedora. So at least on one of my computers, I have to go back to Windows in order to be able to run backtracing and stuff like that. So I will be building a small Windows desktop PC, or I'll go and buy like an Intel NUC just to be able to run those backtracing in real time so that I can have that data for tax purposes. At least on my end of things. That's definitely something that I wish that I didn't have to go back to Windows for. I can get a Windows 10 LTSC license and I can turn off all the telemetry. And so I know that any data that I have stored locally on that computer will be completely walled off from internet access, and the data will remain safe and local, at least as far as that's concerned. I'm not afraid of any like government entities having access or backdoors into my computers. I'm not like that anal retentive about it. In fact, I'm not afraid of the government. In fact, like a lot of the things that I do, it's like whenever I make money or whatever, I have to pay capital gains. So they have access to my full financial portfolio anyway. My main concern is I don't want some like Indian dude in some call center somewhere that was hired by Microsoft to have access to my financial institution and my financial data and all that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Those two things are just not the same. And to sit there and imply that Microsoft is in any way trustworthy as a company being completely ran by these types of like mindset of people that like they seem to want to be shoving telemetry down our throats, and like this is not something that like we considered this stuff spyware. We considered what like Microsoft are currently doing virus behavior. And so for somebody like me that has been using computers since the old days of MS-DOS 6.22 and Windows 3.1, hell, I went back to MS-DOS 4. I was on MS-DOS 4. I remember lining up to buy a copy of Windows 95 when I was a child. That was... I don't know why it was such a fever pitch thing, but I grew up with like Windows and Mac. I had a Apple IIgs for a while, then I had a Macintosh 2LC, then a 3LC, then I had a Pismo PowerBook, and then in college I had the G5 Power Mac. That thing was a beast. I liked that. It was a quad core. It was the quad core version, but I paid a little bit extra for them to install the air cooler. In fact, it was I think it was a little bit more. Like you could get this upgraded air cooler. It was like, so for $21.99 you could get it with the water cooler. For $18.69 you could get it with the air cooler, and it was like the upgraded beefier air cooler, and it was the same G5 CPU as the one with the water cooler. So that's the one that I ended up going with because it was cheaper anyway. And I ended up using the extra money to get the Apple Cinema display back in the day. And that was my computer for the longest time. I played World of Warcraft on that thing for the longest time. It ran macOS 10.4 in the beginning and then 10.5 for the longest time. And I used that Mac for the longest time. And then came Windows Vista, and I built a Vista PC, and I ran Vista 64 pretty well on that. And then I upgraded to 7. I liked 7 quite a bit. And then Windows 8 came along. And I ended up having to switch to Ubuntu because of other reasons. I started 3D printing, and back then the best way to get into 3D printing was you had to have Ubuntu installed. And Canonical was handing out those free discs anyway, so I always dual booted with like Windows 8 and what have you. Windows 8 did add some robotics stuff with 3D printing, and then Windows 7, it was backported to Windows 7 for a bit. And then when Windows 10 came around, 3D printing support was just already like completely and readily available. And now the programs, just like the slicers and everything, like handle everything on the client and server end, and you never even have to think about it with Bamboo Studio. So as far as all that's concerned, it's great, you know. Like as far as getting into like these different things on Windows, you don't really have to switch to Linux anymore. And so it really had me thinking like, okay, so what is it like on Windows? And I installed Windows 11, and it was very, very, very invasive. I was surprised. I was completely blown away by all of what I had heard about Windows 11. Because back when I used Windows, that was completely unheard of. And so I was like, well, let me check that out. I knew like about the force telemetry in Windows 10. But to go in and like you could still go in here within Windows 10. I don't know how to do it off the top of my head anymore because it's not something I've had to do in years. You could turn off telemetry. You could turn off the forced updates. You can just run O&O shut up 10 or what have you. I believe that's the way to do it. And away you go. I mean, I think you can do it in regular Windows, but like, in order to use Windows 11, you have to bypass their user information, and then like it's still blasting a lot of information about you. And then you could turn it off, but then like a forced update could come and turn it back on, and like a lot of data leaks have been happening. And I don't want my financial information leaked to the internet. And even my financial institution runs RHEL, and so I may be investigating running our Red Hat Enterprise Linux here at home on my main office PC, having the Windows 10 LTSC run the real-time stuff, and only boot that computer for those purposes, run the data through the stuff, run the backtracing, and then submit that document and what have you to the government for tax purposes to see if it matches. Because that's literally the only way I would ever run Windows, I think, ever again. It would be in a very enclosed, cut-off thing, running it on a very small computer, where I pull it out, I boot it up, I run the program that I need to run, and then I shove it back in a drawer, and I only pull it out when I need to run it. Because that's going to be like a once-a-week thing. It's not something that I need to run it all the time for. My reliance on Microsoft Office has come to an end. That came to an end a long, long time ago when I switched to Linux. I've been just fine with using Google Docs. As far as like getting all that stuff, as far as getting for things for Excel is concerned, again, I can just export that XLS file from TradingView, and it's compatible with any program that's been able to open any kind of Excel document in the past, like, I don't know, 5-10 years. So you don't really have to worry about formatting or anything like that. It seems very compatible with like LibreOffice. I wish I could give you an example of that without exposing my financial information to the web, but trust me, it works fine. It works totally fine. It's just I'm missing out on one or two pieces of core functionality. There are, like I said, workarounds, but the workarounds don't give me the proper delta, and so when you don't have the proper delta, calculating the alpha is kind of willy wonky, and so it's not really that great for math. And unfortunately, I do need Windows, at least as far as that's concerned. Like I said, I'm going to be testing this in BSD. I have another computer coming to me where I will install BSD on a drive, install TradingView on that, see if I can run it in real time within BSD, and then run the bot to backtrace everything and see if I could do it that way. And then if I could do it that way, then yeah, absolutely. I think I would just switch to BSD, install KDE Plasma, and learn how to do things the BSD way. I don't know how to do all that just yet. And it might be something that I could do on my main PC, but I have everything set up just the way I like it, just the way I want it. and BSD is not something I kind of want to just jump into just yet. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a really good operating system, Fedora 44 is the way to go. You know, I mean, it has been nothing but rock solid and stable. If you want to have a good desktop experience, I suggest strongly KDE Plasma. If you don't really want to mess around with the terminal too much, there is another option, and that's Linux Mint with Cinnamon. There are some UI issues within Steam. They kind of sort of are better on KDE Plasma than they are on Cinnamon. Yeah, I'll just show you rather than try to over-explain it. Go over here to Games, go over here to Steam. Minimize this. If we go here to Steam, well, here, let's just check this, right? We go down here, we go to, compatibility. Now we want to force this to use Proton GE34. If I click this, sometimes it works the first time, but sometimes it'll go Proton-3. And that's the way it and you have to click it like 2 or 3 times and it'll go through. On Cinnamon, it's very hard to get the interface to just work. You're fighting the Steam interface. And so that's why I switched to KDE Plasma with Fedora, and I've had nothing but a good time with KDE Plasma. I've had nothing but a good time with Fedora. I've had nothing but a good time with Linux. I can't say enough good things about Linux. It's just this one small caveat of Linux that it just seems like in order to get full support for it going is going to be, unfortunately, a caveat in and of itself. And so, unfortunately, that's something that I have to contend with. But getting my work done has been, at least for the most part, completely and 100% doable. Connecting to my 9-to-5 job, they use RHEL now. Everybody everywhere uses RHEL now. And so there are contracts with it, and apparently you can just use RHEL for free now on a desktop. You don't have to actually be stuck with using Fedora. Fedora is a lot more up to date, but I guess RHEL is considered more stable, and what they consider stable is that the programs and stuff will get more security updates but remain in unchanged states. So if you like the way a specific program works in a specific state, you're going to want to use more of a long-term service branch of things. And the long-term service branch of Fedora seems to be RHEL. And if you need any kind of support for that, you would have to pay them. And this is not like an endorsement of RHEL or anything like that. It's just the path that I have to go down with Linux, because I need a working operating system, and the way that I do my job, the way that I work with things, I am stuck with the way I have to do, the way I make my money. It's just I'm kind of locked in the way I do things. So, that all being said, will I be sticking with Linux long term? Most likely. If BSD does work better, I will switch over to BSD. I have no qualms with switching over to BSD. If I'm able to get all of that working, on top of having all of this other amazing stuff working that Linux has gotten working, so if I can combine those two things and have a full working operating system, I'll be set. I'll be set for a long time. Anyway, I don't know. The purpose of this video was just to kind of ramble and get things kind of off my chest and talk about some things that I've faced on Linux. For anybody out there that might be trying to think about hey, what is this Linux thing? Can I get into it? It does work, and it works really well. It does what it says it does on the box. If you need an alternative desktop operating system, it functions, and it functions as intended, and it is a nice experience. And getting your day-to-day functions done, answering emails, getting on and watching some YouTube videos, playing some older video games, just sitting down and using my computer has been a breeze. Updating the computer whenever there's updates, it pops up a little thing down here in the right-hand corner of my screen. Hey, by the way, you have some updates. And so, I can go into Discover and I can look at these updates and see if these system updates are worth restarting for, or if it's something I could just drop into terminal and DNF to update it, which is what I did for OBS Studio just 5 minutes prior to recording this. And everything that I have tried on Linux just works so far in an asterisk state. Do I think that you can use Linux? Yes, I think anybody now can just sit down comfortably using Linux on a desktop, with the caveat going, not everything is going to work as you would have expected, but if you're willing to change your workflow a little bit, you're able to get through your workday and get things done. Anyway, some people are blowing up my phone, and I will talk to you guys another time.